Next is from Jared Aviat, and the subject is Abel's a I respect you, Booker Man. Hi there, K100 fam. Hope everyone's well. With respect to K-Dog and DI's wishes, the beef between myself and Amy Schumer ended last week on Live on the Roundtable. It is squashed. However, the beef with the king of all douchebags, the mentally challenged Abel, continues. He stated he would come on previous roundtables but never showed up. He also writes like he never graduated primary school. He's living proof that two wrongs don't make a right. His parents should be ashamed of the burden they've given the world to deal with.
Ugh.
Anyways, on to my question.
Who is he talking about?
Talking about these are mailbag
These
guys.
are two guys from Patreon.
Wow.
That don't get along.
Anyway, on to my question. I know you guys both.
Mark beef. Okay,
I know you knew Brian Pillman was well personally, and since his 25th year of his infamous match with Kevin Sullivan in Super Brawl 6 in 1996, what stories can you both share, if any, on Pillman at his time is at the height of the loose cannon persona in WCW? People close to Brian, like Eric Bischoff and Mick Foley, stated that Pillman worked them and did not reveal to them that what was real and what was fantasy. He was a master blurring the lines. Did Pillman get reclusive at this time, according to Conan and Disco? Did he ever try to work either Conan or Disco in any instance? To me, the loose cannon persona was absolute gold. Thank you as always for taking my question. And yes, Abel's I've got some good insight into this because I was hanging out with Pillman at this time when he was at the height of his loose cannon. So we went down. We stayed at the Residence Inn in Orlando on what drive is that? I'm not down Sand Lake. What's the road that Disney's on? That what road is that down there? Where
I Drive International.
Yeah, it might be International Drive, right? So we were staying at the Residence Inn down there, and we'd stay there for like 10 days. Okay, and it's funny because Pillman was doing the loose cannon stuff at this time. So Chris Canyon would drive down to Orlando because he'd take his car, he'd bring his a bunch of stuff because we'd be staying on there for like 10, 12 days, and he'd bring his VCR with his tape collection. He had a very excellent VCR collection of wrestling tapes back in this is the mid-90s, right? Mm. So Pillman one day, like we're there watching, like me and Pillman were kind of hanging out, and he Canyon had his tapes, and like Canyon had like I said, hey, put in some Roddy Piper, right? So we started watching Piper, and Pillman was like, hey, can I borrow this? Okay, because I guess he had a VCR in his room and everything. So Pillman borrowed like all the Piper tapes and was very into Roddy Piper. Okay, so like when he was doing that whole loose cannon stuff, he was actually this is like the genesis of the loose cannon stuff. This is like right when he started doing it. So he was watching like a lot of Piper, over the top, very very like a lot of Piper stuff. But the funniest thing is so I went back to his room and to get I had to go. I wanted he was going to borrow the tape and I was going to watch it. So I went to his room to go get it, and I'm knocking on his door, and he's like acting completely paranoid. He's like, well, who is it? Who's that? Who's that? Like it's Disco. Oh, who? I was like, bro, it's me. Okay. Bro, he opened the room to his hotel. He opened the door to his hotel room. It looked like, and we'd been there like 2 days. Okay, it looked like he'd opened the windows and a hurricane had hit the place. Just everywhere. I mean, it's like I was like, what the? I'm thinking was there like a clothes fight or something where people throw? I'm like 2 days. I could not believe his room was just like he was just taking his clothes off and throwing them. It was just an absolute mess. So one day we go to there was a bar down there. There's a country bar we went to, and all the boys would go out. The boys would go out every night. We'd all go out big group, 15. We'd run 15, 20 strong sometimes. So there was we go to this bar and we're all hanging out. Everything. Pillman shows up at the bar. All right. And he's so excited. He's like, guys, there's a hostage situation at the hotel. We're like, what? He's like, there's a hostage situation at the hotel. Come on, we got to go back there. No lie. A pimp, okay, in the building that we were okay, so in the Residence Inn, they have each unit, there's 8 rooms in a unit. The unit I was staying in, okay, and I was on the bottom floor, and the upper corner away from me, I got a pimp was holding a girl hostage in the room. Okay, so they had evacuated everything. The cops were I couldn't go back in the room, so we all went back to the hotel. And this hostage situation is playing out, right? So we get there, and it's right when the hostage situation is everything. The guy gave up, right? So they bring the pimp out. They handcuff him. They put him in the back of the cop car, right? But the cops are seeing all the wrestlers there show up. Oh, you guys are pretty. We're popular back then, so it's like everybody knew us and stuff, right? So the cops knew us. So Pillman gets a camera. He goes next to the door of the cop car, and like they let the guy they let him take a picture with the pimp that got arrested for the hostage situation. And so like Pillman's taking pictures, like bro. I mean, he was just so nuts, and it's like so classic. And it was funny because like when he did the thing with the Hey Booker Man stuff, right? We went to the Paul White, okay, the Giant, had a house down there in Tampa, okay, and he had a party after one of the nights of the TV tapes. It had a bunch, like 20 of us over there, drink beer, just watch some stuff. He had a big projection screen and everything. But the funniest thing is that we were like playing the spot with him and Kevin in the, like they had a tape of the match. It's like the party, like 20 of us, right? And we're playing the tape of the thing with him and Kevin. And like everybody's going like, is that a shoot or what? And he's like, bro, he wouldn't tell us. We're going, come on, bro, this is a shoot. Like, we're like sitting there telling bro, like, Brian, come on, bro, is that's a shoot. I mean, that's a work. Or like, that's what we're saying. We're saying it's a work. And like everybody's going, are you shooting? He wouldn't tell us.
Yeah,
he wouldn't tell us. But it's funny, like during that whole time was all during a Disney. There was a 2-week period of that stuff on TV all around Disney, and it was hysterical, But he was great.
Yeah, it's just such. Dude, he for me like was perhaps the. I don't want to say like missed opportunity, but God, sometimes I think back and I think, God, if he hadn't have died, and if he'd have been able to, if they'd have been able to sort of get them, imagine how much more you could have got out of that character. Like it was just starting to like he really understood where the business was going. It seemed like when you look at that character and the way he was doing things and the way he talked and the way he was presenting himself, blurring,
like trying to work. He tried to work the dirt sheet guys,
right? And then
that's what he's trying to do because they were driving the narrative. The dirt sheet guys were driving. So he was like, I'm going to with these guys,
right? And then you look at where WWF went in the next like 3, 4, 5 years. Like God, he would have been perfect.
Bro, I'll never forget that angle he did where Austin went to his house with the gun.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh my God, wrestling's dead. They're not. No, that was like turn a switch on. Yeah.
It didn't feel hokey and like overproduced. It was kind of just on the right side of it, and it was fresh. It was new at the time. It was. I remember seeing it and just being like, "Whoa, what?" Like
what the like we're done.
Like there was part of me, like it wasn't. I will say it wasn't like any part of me was thinking like, "Oh, like he's." But I remember just thinking like. I can't believe they're doing that.
Well, think about the water cooler talk back then.
Yeah.
Did you watch wrestling last night? What happened? The guy pulled a gun on a guy. Like what? It's like, yeah, you should watch it this week. This guy Brian, we went to his house and he had a gun. I don't know if it was real or not, but it's like it sure looked. And then they turned on the TV next week. What's going on in this show?
The key to that segment working was how short it was.
Right.
But before you had any chance to like get to to lose your suspension of disbelief, it was done.
Right. Yeah.
That's a huge thing that I see now that kills so much of the I see now is it's too long.
Yeah.
Like, but you get way too mumuch time to sit there and pontificate,
scrutinize it,
and then you
get the immediate reaction. Right.
You've lost. Like it's bam, bam, get out. Like that's the way it needs to be.